Well, hello everyone. For the final video of 2022, we've got the whole Classics World team together, and we hope you had a good Christmas. Phil's clearly still dressed for the occasion. Yeah. And we put the word out on all our social media for you to ask us any questions you might have about cars, about videos, just about life, lasagna, if you like. And we've got them all together on the laptop here, and we're going to answer them. So without further ado, team, let's crack on.
Let's crack on, yeah, okay.
But first, our friends at Lancaster Insurance are running monthly giveaways. You can win all sorts, from experience days to tools, restaurant vouchers and tech. So click the link below at the end of the video to enter their latest competition. Facebook, the one and only question from Facebook, Paul Thompson, how's the Van & Place Allegro coming along?
I've actually not done anything on it. It's with the editor of Classics Monthly, Simon Goldsworthy. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was glorious. I loved how it drove. I loved the ride comfort and everything. I think the sort of restoration has been slightly problematic. I think things like rebuilding the brakes took a bit of time. Almost done, and then we've got this debate about whether to respray it or not.
It'd be nice to see it painted. Moving on to Instagram, Paul in Hot 1971, what was each your high point of the year? Or presumably in terms of cars and the job.
I'll start. I think it was nice to be able to properly get back out post-COVID. So I enjoyed a trip to Retromobile in Paris, very good show, and the NEC as well. You know, it's nice to see familiar faces.
That's good bookends of the year, isn't it? Paris in February and Birmingham NEC in November.
Like you say, getting out there and actually be able to enjoy car culture, going to a few of our shows. Classic Ford show, that was a big highlight. Brilliant show, that really enjoyed it. And big adventures, obviously the Isle of Man trip, the Belgium trip. Just out and about enjoying cars.
Due to the unique way that the video production year and the calendar year don't match up, you won't see the results of this high point until after this has come out, but it was done in 2022 was driving a Rolls Royce Silver Cloud 1, the entirely original low mileage example, and I think that's just one of the high points because A, it's a Rolls Royce Silver Cloud, but also it wasn't a car that I had a big hankering for, it wasn't a tick, it wasn't a car that I had any great knowledge of or preconceptions going into. It was just really nice to come across it and be really, really pleasantly surprised, just by how magnificent.
A couple of things stand out for me. The first was driving a original XK120 out of the Jaguar Heritage Collection. Filthy winter weather, not the day you'd expect to enjoy a car like that. Side screens up, little flap to get your hand back. Just brilliant. And you can see why those cars were so popular, and I really enjoyed it. And then actually the sun came out later in the day, and even though it was a cold day, the heater worked, didn't it? Oh, it's tremendous. And they still feel quick even by today's standards. I absolutely loved that, and it's sort of stuck with me all year, that. Second thing, we get a lot of project cars. A lot of them come my way. Some are good, some are bad. About 3 times in my life I've tried to go and buy a Mark 1 Golf GTI. I always wanted one, and a Mark 1 GTI convertible turned up on my drive courtesy of Jeff, who dropped it off when we bought it from auction. I had it at home most of the summer, and yeah, it's brilliant. I love a Mark 1 GTI, and I was just saying to a colleague earlier on, I think I should go and buy a Mark 1 GTI.
It's a good car. It's
good
now
car.
sold to my neighbour who's currently enjoying it.
You thought it was a good car, otherwise you wouldn't have sold it.
Yeah, so you do realise that car has now got a lifetime warranty.
Yes, indeed. Yes, that's my worry.
Just say I'm getting quite good at defeating 90s aftermarket immobilisers now.
He was asking about the immobiliser, by the way. I'll have to talk to you about that later.
Lifetime warranty. Moving on to the YouTube community page, Francesco, I'm really sorry, I'm not going to attempt to pronounce that on screen now. Your favourite car you've driven this year, and we will go to you first, Jack.
Am I allowed to use my own cars?
You can if you want.
Because it's just really nice getting out and about in the 2CV again. I always enjoy it. One of my favourite cars I've ever owned, full stop. This year it's been particularly good because it has just worked consistently.
Fantastic. Jeff, favourite car you've driven all year?
I'll go for one via work and one of my own. So the one via work was a big surprise for me because 20 years ago I'd have laughed in your face if you'd have told me, but I really enjoyed driving a Vauxhall Nova.
Oh, you love that thing? That was really yellow.
Which we did a video on, and also a twin test feature for Classic Car Mart, so I really enjoyed that. And the car of my own is my Innoscenti Mini, which I put back on the road after 7 years, took to the Isle of Wight for the weekend, and just enjoyed, a bit like Jack, getting behind the wheel of a car that I've been working and tinkering on for a very long time, but not managed to complete until now, so that was great.
Excellent. Paul?
Well, obviously the XK120 I mentioned earlier, but yeah, my own car, again, a Honda S2000, and it's been a lovely summer, and yeah, I got the chance to actually use it, and brings a smile to your face every time.
Oh, if we're allowed to pick one personal, one work one, I'd go with my Audi TT. I've spent a lot of money on it this year, recommissioned it, so I've been able to use that a bit more this year, and I've really enjoyed that. Work car, Ford Sierra RS Cosworth.
You would have seen that by now in our Christmas
Yeah,
special.
oh, just gone out, right?
Yeah, literally the week before this one.
I really enjoyed that, but probably not in a way that people would have expected. If people think of the whale tail Codsworth, a bit leery, this is actually a much more gentlemanly product, a bit softer, a bit more refined, but it's actually all the better for that, you know.
My own car is always on the list. We'll come to that later. There's more questions related to that. But work car, I mean, 205 GTI, every bit as good as we thought it would be. Brilliant. Citroen DS, to my mind, is the greatest car ever made, so it should be that by default. The Mark III Cortina, our one, I just absolutely fell in love with it. And
You probably did more miles in that Mark III Cortina than any of us.
yeah, I think, do you know what? Up until about a month ago, I'd done more miles in that Mark III Cortina than I have in my own car. What are your thoughts on the classic car market going into 2023? We'll throw this over to our markets editor, Jeff.
I think, yes, there has been a slowing generally, but very good cars, or cars with provenance, will always perform well. We've seen that. They're still performing well. And if you want to be optimistic about next year, it just means that it's going to be a bit of a buyer's market, maybe further down. And I think that's really positive. We can get new blood into the scene. And I think that's the way you've got to look at it. It's an opportunity. And of course, it might end up with me adding to my fleet and then living in the garage.
Right, quick fire question. This one from Mark L. Which car did you have before it attained classic status that you wish you kept? Quick fire answers. Phil, go.
Smart Roadster, I would say.
Has that got classic status?
Yeah, I'd say so. Emerging classic status.
Emerging classic status. Paul.
205 GTI and the 1.9 as well, the proper one.
Jeff.
Apart from every single Mini I've owned, Celica ST185 GT4.
How much did you pay for that again?
280 quid.
Would you get the V5 for one these days for that?
No, I don't think so.
No, I don't think you would. Jack.
I think all my cars have yet to reach classic status, but I think the one that really stands out has to be the Austin Metro. I had that when they were cheap and deeply unloved by almost everyone, and now they are cheap and slightly appreciated.
More loved.
Why haven't you got that anymore, Jack?
Yes, exactly.
Because it was so appreciated it got stolen.
Probably my Alpha GTV, because I sold it for 1,200-1,300 quid and it's changed hands recently for just under $4,000.
Oh, wow.
Say no more. Asked by WB and Sons, what's the best auction house that you worked with all year? All of them, I think. We'll be diplomatic.
We love them all equally.
We do love them all equally.
I would just say it's been Chris Holmes at SWVA is now retired, so he's been really great to work with. So
Yeah.
I'd just like to pay tribute.
Agreed. Thanks, Chris. Thanks to Hobbs Parker and to WB and Sons. We worked with both of you this year. You've both been brilliant. Mark Dempsey, any plans to feature an air-cooled Porsche 911 on the channel?
Can I have one as a company car?
We really should, isn't it? 60 years of the 911. And we've also got our new Porsche event next year,
Yes.
Porsche in the Park on the 3rd of September.
Well, you know I like an air-cooled VW, I'll do that.
Of many nicknames, will you get together with Drive Tribe to compare your XKR to their modified example? So those of you that don't know, they're going to be, they want the cheapest XKR in the country, they're going to be manual swapping it, smaller supercharger pulley, more sort of a track spec car. Be interesting to compare, I think, to our 4.2. If they're watching, Mike, get in touch. We'd love to do a bit of a drag race. Ours makes a lot more power. I think theirs is about 100 horsepower down at the moment. So I think ours would win. Rust in time. Slightly philosophical question, this. Is being into classic cars tantamount to being a glutton for punishment? Yes.
But the highs can outweigh the lows.
Yeah.
They can, yes.
You've got to buy wisely.
I'd also say, in my experience, the experience is either really good or it's complete punishment from end to end.
Jamie Sutton, this is one for Phil specifically. In your XKR reveal video, you made mention of having driven my XK8, Reg BN04URY. What did you think of it? What did you do with it?
We drove it to Le Mans, actually. It was a press car. It was sublime. I did get to drive the Le Mans circuit in it, but it was a kind of those sort of escorted drives. And we were part of that, and there was the Corvette Club in front of us doing their little thing as well. So it was all very sedate. So the current owner can rest assured it wasn't thrashed under my watch.
But it has been round Le Mans. So
It has driven around Le Mans.
Jamie, you've got yourself a track car there.
Yeah, exactly.
Ajamino asks, who would you recommend for Jaguar restoration? And I think I speak for all of us when I say that's quite a broad question in terms of what the car is, what your budget is, and where you are in the country.
Well, yeah.
I'm editor of Jaguar World, I'll answer that one. I wouldn't recommend necessarily a Jaguar specialist if it's not a very specific car. If it's an old classic Jaguar from the 60s, you probably do want an expert. But if it's a more modern Jaguar, you probably don't want to get chasing your tail looking for a specialist. You want to inquire locally, find people that are pleased with work that's been done on their classic car restoration, and find someone local to you where you can go and keep an eye on the work and chat to the people involved. Go for that approach.
Ian Cairns asks, any update from each of you on your personal classic cars? So the ones we own, not the Classics World fleet. Jack?
Well, so I've already mentioned the 2CV.
That's fine.
I've had a very good year. Yeah, so that's 13 years into owning that.
Xantia?
Xantia is what brought me here today. Just passed its MOT. We'll be taking it to France in a few days' time. So I have faith in that. That's still my daily. That has also been very trouble-free this year.
Jeff, Mini, another Mini, another Mini, another Mini.
Yeah, that is kind of it's a bit samey after a bit my fleet. My red Mini Mayfair has basically been plodding on nicely. Used it for quite a lot of long trips. The inner Shenty, like I say, has gone back on the road after 7 years, so it was nice to get that back on the road. The annoying thing is that it was off the road for so long. I took the engine and gearbox out because it had a noisy diff and forgot to put the engine and gearbox back in, rebuilding everything else but the diff.
Oh, man. Cool. S2000?
Well, Honda, isn't it? I mean, I've changed the oil, I've polished it. There's not a lot else to report. I've been working more on my son's car. He's 18. He's got a E46 320 Ci M Sport. What a first car! I had a 40 horsepower Beetle. He's got 18-inch rims.
Phil, the TT and the S2000?
Oh gosh, this is going to be shameful. Well, the Audi TT, as I mentioned earlier, spent a load of money on it this year because I got the wheels refurbished, new tyres, new brakes, cam belt, the lot. I spent an absolute fortune on it, and then my mother-in-law reversed into it. But anyway, it's been great, and I really enjoyed driving that. I think they're a really sort of underrated modern classic. Now, the Honda S2000 hasn't turned a wheel.
It's still languishing in the garage. Yeah. We are giving him a lot of torment for that, don't you worry.
I know it's shameful, but my excuse is that I've also had quite a few of the Classics World fleet on the drive. So if it's not been the Orion or the Golf GTI, I'll hopefully try and use more of my own cars next year, but famous last words.
And my own personal, the only car with my name on the V5 is my Fiat Seicento, which hasn't come to the channel, but does lead on to a question we'll do in a minute. Got some new mini light wheels on it. I've done some suspension stuff. I had a new windscreen put in it for the MOT, and driving here today, I got a stone chip and a crack. So that's going well. Which rolls us very nicely onto another question from Ian, which says, will we see Joe's Fiat on the channel? It would be nice to. For those of you that don't know, I've got a modified Fiat Seicento Sporting. It was my first car. Long old story with it. Am I allowed? Can I have it on the channel?
Well, maybe there's a video idea where we do actually do a little trip in our own cars. You know, maybe we get.
Would you like to see that road trip in our own cars? Let us know.
My car has a 376 diff and it's maxed out about 65 miles an hour.
That doesn't sound like a you problem, and that doesn't really sound like a me problem.
Yeah.
Josh Jameson, would you consider a European trip in the XKR? Probably not, because it may well be sold by the time this video goes out.
We certainly wouldn't rule out other European road trips.
We took it to the Isle of Man. That's over AC.
Yeah, just further to the Isle of Man than it is to France. Yeah. So there you go. We went abroad of sorts. Mike Hedges, will a Rolls Silver Spirit ever be fashionable? Jack?
Fashionable. I think I'm going to do the politician's swerve here and say that's not the question you should be asking. The question you should be asking is, are Rolls Royces ever fashionable? Surely they are above fashion. Slightly less flippantly. It's an interesting question. There's something to that, though. I think, would you ever say that Rolls Royce is ever fashion? Do they ever come into fashion?
They never go out of fashion.
But equally, they never go out of fashion, because I think they are kind of above fashion.
Does that mean we can buy one?
No! Rusty Bearden. Again, another quickfire question. If you could only have one car for the rest of your days, what would it be?
So hard.
That
It's going to last you forever.
It's going to last you from there. So we're going to take away all your current
depths
cars.
of a nuclear winter, it's still got to run.
You can have one. You can have one of your current cars if you want, but only that.
I'd refer you to the Woody Allen film Sleepers. They really build these things. I'd have a VW Beetle because it's just going to carry on forever.
Yeah, true.
Right, what's Jack going to choose then?
If you take away all my current cars and all my other circumstances say the same, one car to do everything that I want in a car, it would be probably a Gen 1 Subaru Impreza turbo wagon.
Do you know what? That's a cracking.
That's a really good choice.
And to be honest, it's an answer that I would almost share. But because I love minis, I'd have a club in the States. It's got room in the back.
With the 1275 swap.
Yeah, why stop at a 1275?
Well, the thing is, I immediately went to when that question came out was a Jaguar XKR, but then you started talking about post-apocalyptic sort of motoring, and I'm thinking, maybe I need a bit of space for extra passengers. So I'll just change it to a Jaguar XJR.
Which one?
Probably a 308 generation.
With plastic timing chain tensioners and a plastic water pump?
It's fine, I'd have been upgraded by then. It's fine.
Yes, I like that.
It's fine.
Logic dictates I should go for my Seicento on the basis that it was my first car, and I've had multiple opportunities handed to me to get
your last car.
So that would dictate that, surely. But if it has to be standard, one car, W123 300D. Why wouldn't you? Because it would do everything. Choice. The final question, and it's quite a good one. Ian Hunt, I've got £6,000 to spend on a classic car that I could drive every day. I prefer stuff that's not run-of-the-mill. What would you recommend?
This is a really hard question. My first response to that was a P6.
P6 is a good shout.
Because I rode a P6 because I just think they're still very undervalued for what you get. But then, of course, you have to make sure you're getting a good one.
It's very open to interpretation because it depends. Do you define a classic as chrome bumpers and carbs, or will you be prepared to go newer? What is your daily use? Do you drive a mile to the office, or have you got a 100-mile roadway trip? Do you need to put family and dogs and kids in it, or is it just you and maybe your partner?
I think buy wisely, do your research, look at a few and buy an XK8 maybe. It's a sort of car, it still looks quite exotic, but you can get them for cheap.
My W123 suggestion, I mean, I could default to that for most questions of what car would you pick.
It's the answer to every question.
It is the answer to every question.
In the vein of something solidly made with chrome bumpers and carburetors, I think Volvo Amazon or Volvo 140. They've got character. They're very, that old Swedish solidity, charm. The fact that they've built and engineered so well, like Mercedes, gives them a sort of charm and character of their own. Part support's good, and £6,000 will get you a really nice one.
And that is left field.
And it is slightly quirky.
So that brings to an end our Q&A. That's all your questions answered. Thank you to everyone who chimed in on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube community. Links on the screen there to follow us if you don't already. And thank you all for watching our videos this year, because we're now over 30,000 subscribers, and that in itself is amazing. So stay tuned for 2 videos a week every week now. Are we going to commit to that? We'll certainly hope for. They'll be every Wednesday and hopefully every Sunday. So any last words from the team?
Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks very much for your support.
Couldn't have said it better myself. This video is proudly sponsored by Lancaster Insurance. Give them a call on 01480 400 889 for an insurance quote on your classic car. And don't forget to click the link below to enter their latest competition.